So, the Bad Batch, otherwise known as Clone Force 99, was a squad bound together by genetic and physical differences that made them outcasts from the rest of the clone army. This didn't hurt their effectiveness as a squad at all. Clone Force 99 would often be called in when battles required a more creative or unconventional approach to win. One of the members, called Tech, was known for his exceptional mind. His intelligence and large mental capacity for all sorts of information made him a crucial part of the squad. He also happened to show a lot of neurodivergent tendencies. But what about his depiction made Tech such a relatable character to so-called neurotypical and neurodivergent viewers alike? Okay, well, let's start out with what defines neurodivergence. By definition, it's a difference in mental or neurological function from what is considered typical or normal, frequently used with a reference to autistic spectrum disorders. Or, in other words, neurodivergent brains think or work differently than the majority of the population. Some examples of neurodivergence include various disorders on the autism spectrum, ADHD, Tourette syndrome, and dyslexia. All of these have various levels of severity as well. Some people with these neurodivergent traits can live very normal lives without too much trouble. However, others often need guidance and support from others to live normally. With such a range of neurodivergence, it can be hard for show writers and producers to properly and respectfully depict it on television, especially if they want to create a character everyone can relate to. However, the team at Lucasfilm did an excellent job when they created Tech's character. His story emphasized quite a few neurodivergent strengths and showed the supportive network of individuals around him. His family not only helped him, but they were so much better off with him around, as his differences made him a necessary part of the team. So, one of the easiest neurodivergent traits to depict on screen is increased intelligence and a decrease in social skills. Sometimes this depiction can be overdone or done unrealistically, but it wasn't in this case. Tech had an extremely high intelligence and a mastery of all things technology. Whenever something needed to be hacked, decrypted, or traced, Tech was normally the man for the job. However, his ability to understand people and express his thoughts in an emotionally intelligent way was often lacking. His vast encyclopedia-like knowledge almost compelled him to share that knowledge without hesitation, even if no one wanted to listen or particularly cared about what he was saying. This made him the most talkative member of the squad, and for many people on the neurodivergent spectrum, they often find it hard to stop talking about subjects they like. Another way that Tech's neurodivergence was shown was during a mission to Skako Minor. While working with Anakin Skywalker and Captain Rex to rescue Echo, Tech revealed that he had a hobby of recording sounds. This hobby saved their lives when he was able to play back a native animal's cry for help in order to summon said animals to their location. As a result, the Bad Batch, Anakin, and Rex were able to ride the flying creatures to safety. Many people on the spectrum of neurodivergence often focus on one unconventional hobby above all else. For example, Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory loved trains, and Abed from Community loved movies. In those sitcoms, the characters' passion for their chosen topics often became central plot points that allowed them to use their knowledge to solve problems. While sadly Tech's habit of recording sounds never showed up again, it did allow the Bad Batch to escape a dangerous situation. During a trip to a planet where a Mario Kart-like race was in full swing, Tech showed his expertise in mechanics and improvising in high-risk situations. After one of the competing droids was sabotaged, Tech chose to race in its place in order to save the squad's employer's life. He was able to take several risks and use very unorthodox moves to win the race, and was genuinely surprised but pleased when his siblings congratulated him and when the crowd cheered his name. Another example of neurodivergence can be seen in how Tech interacts with his fellow clones. While the rest of the Bad Batch tended to argue with and even fight with regular clones, Tech would often remain calm or switch his focus to another task. He would even attempt to diffuse arguments, as many people on the spectrum of neurodivergence tend to find conflict either unreasonable, because there is a logical solution to the problem, or deeply mentally uncomfortable. His heightened logic had its downsides though, since emotionally, Tech could often be seen as cold. For example, one of the worst struggles that the Bad Batch had to deal with was the portrayal of their brother, Crosshair. Tech was shown several times to simply accept that Crosshair's nature was to be unyielding, and while he didn't agree with his brother's choices, Tech still respected him. The Bad Batch suffered further losses when Echo left to join Rex's clone underground movement, and shortly after, the ship was stolen. While Tech did express regret about the loss of Echo and their ship, he was also extremely realistic about what had occurred, commenting that the squad would continue to exist without Echo. and that they very well might never see their ship again. This led to conflict with the squad's sister, Omega, who was much more emotionally attached to both the Marauder and Echo. We'll come back to this later. Perhaps the saddest showcase of logic versus emotion was the battle on Eriadu. As the squad attempted to escape being shot down by V-Wings, Tech was forced to repower a rail line for the Bad Batch to escape. After sprinting to rejoin his family, followed by a few good shots by the V-Wing pilots, he ended up hanging on the rail car by a grappling hook. When he saw this extra weight was thrown off the car, he decided to activate Plan 99 and gave his life so that the rest of the squad could get away. His loss was felt deeply for the remainder of the show, not only in his family's grief, but also in their reduced efficiency. Other members were forced to step up as several piloting and technological problems just took more time and were made more difficult because Tech wasn't around to handle them. However, before his death, he became a truly relatable character for viewers after a particular conversation put words to thoughts that the audience had only guessed at before. One of the best ways to depict neurodivergence is not only to show its strengths, but also its weaknesses. Many neurodivergent people often have trouble reacting emotionally to certain events or even noticing or considering the feelings of others. Tech explained this in a few simple sentences during his interaction with Omega. From her curiosity about the Clone Wars to her sadness about the squad's losses, Omega had always showed a childlike innocence and emotion, as the show had followed her from a young age. Tech's pragmatism frustrated her though, and sometimes she wondered if he even cared about the team at all. After he immediately leapt into the darkness of a mine to save her when she fell, Tech was legitimately shocked and speechless when Omega accused him of not caring about the changes the team was experiencing. In his own way, he reached out to Omega and met her on an emotional level that both of them could understand. He assured her that the Bad Batch was indeed his family and that he felt just as strongly as she did, even if he processed and expressed those emotions differently. And that's honestly the biggest lesson we can learn from Tech. Many neurodivergent people look at the world a little differently and might miss a few things, but they often care just as much as the rest of the world, even if they don't show it as effectively as others would like. Tech became a fan favorite character for a reason. Not only was he depicted with time and care, but we also saw him grow and navigate his weaknesses. This allowed him to connect even deeper to his friends and family, and resulted in him becoming a better person. At the end of the day, neurodivergent people should be embraced. There is a lot of beauty in seeing the world through a different lens than everyone else, and a lot can be learned by understanding another point of view. Doing this is how we can see more of the entire picture of life, and it's often more beautiful than any one viewpoint could see on their own. As Crosshair later stated, Clone Force 99 died with Tech. As a good soldier, brother, and with his neurodivergent mind, Tech truly was the heart of the squad. Check out our video discussing Crosshair's character arc next.